What's up, everybody? This is Brian and welcome to more Low Less Talk. I forget which part of the rear suspension build we're in, if we're part 3 or 4, I don't know. Well, I'll have it labeled. Basically what I get into on this is a rethinking of the upper bars. The factory upper bars snaked around the frame, and if you watched the last episode, you know what I'm talking about. And so when I built my new bars, they were hitting the frame really hard. I thought I was gonna have to put a giant C-notch in the frame, but I decided to kind of rethink and re-engineer the rear suspension, how it's built. And I get into all that in this episode. I also built those bars, I welded them up. What else did I do? The brackets where the bars mount on top of the axle, I built those, and I had to kind of custom make those. Those were not off the shelf brackets. And then the last thing I did, I just built a mock-up bag. So this is an upper and lower mount for the bag, and I built this to kind of simulate the thickness of the bag once it's fully compressed, and I get into why I do that in this episode. So I was hoping I would have more done. I was hoping I would get the behind the seat that mount for the upper bar, but I'm just out of time, man. Anyway, this is what this episode is about. I hope you enjoy. And oh, by the way, I got some a new hat. This is Man Candy's creation. You can catch him. His name is Aaron. Catch him on Garage Fab. I love that channel. That's where I got actually all my information on how a 4-link is built and designed and everything. I got all that from his channel. Without him, I wouldn't be doing this. So anyway, go check him out, Garage Fab on YouTube. And big shout out to Aaron for putting those episodes out. Thank you very much. Other than that, enjoy this episode. All right, welcome back. Okay, so last we saw, we were under here working, trying to figure out how in the hell we're going to get this upper arm. We got the lower one here. How are we going to get the upper one in here? Well, the factory one bolted like this, and not even joking, I don't know why, but it goes under the frame. So when this axle comes up, literally bottoms out against the bottom of the frame. And so when I put my new arm that looks just like this, but it's straight, it doesn't wiggle around the frame, I thought that I was gonna have to put a big old C-notch in here just to notch around that arm. But I have a much better idea. Basically what I was trying to do there was take the factory geometry, but just make that upper arm longer so that the pinion angle stays correct. Well, I don't like the factory geometry, so I'm redoing it completely and making it better than it was from the factory. All right, so in order to explain what I'm doing, I have to explain what a 4-link is, a parallel 4-link, and then a triangulated 4-link. So here we have the 2 lower arms, right? Now, in an ideal world, you're gonna take 2 equal length arms, and you're gonna have one right above the other, just like this, okay? They're gonna be parallel, and they're gonna be the same length. So that way, when this axle goes up and down, they both go up and down the same, and see if I can hold this here. And when they go up and down, these 2 points stay, like they're vertical now, they stay vertical as they go up, see? So that's an ideal world. The problem with this setup is it'll shimmy a little bit in the back. It can sway, right? So there's a couple of fixes. You can put what's called a Watts link. I'm not going to explain a Watts link. You can also put in a panhard bar. I'm not going to explain that either. Both of those are just extra things that I don't think, in my opinion, that you really need. Now, what you can also do, all right, so remember, you've got your 2 lower ones, right? And then above that, you got an extra pair, right? So I'm just going to show it on one side. So this is what we're looking like. instead of running them parallel this way, you run them this way. So one is straight and one is at an angle. Now this angle one at the top centers the axle, so it can't do that shimmy motion, right? It can't do it. And so what you need to do in that case, when you're looking at it from the side and you angle it, now all of a sudden this bar is shorter than this other bar, so you actually end up having to lengthen it just a bit so that from the side it's the same length, and it will keep that pinion angle the same that we're talking about back here. Okay, and that's the way I want to do it. I like that. It's less parts, less moving parts, and more efficient, and it's also cheaper. So, and I'm kind of cheap sometimes. Now, what's going on from the factory though is when the frame comes back, it's not straight. It actually bends a little bit right there at the end, and that tips this bottom one at an angle. All right, maybe some of you are starting to figure this one out, what I figured out. So now what if I take my new top one and make that one straight instead? So the bottom bar is doing two jobs. So the first job, the main job of this bottom bar is this is what where all your braking and all your acceleration, all the forces go through this into the frame, or from the frame into this to slow the car down. And so normally you would want that straight, but in this case from the factory they've got it at an angle. So it is, the job of this one is not only to push and pull forces, braking and acceleration, but it's also to center the axle. And I'll put this one in here, and all this whole arm's job is to keep, as we go up and down, is to keep the pinion angle proper. And that's the whole job of that upper arm. Okay, so now we're gonna get back over here. Now remember, this is the original upper arm. It went in like that, okay? It's also too short, so I wanted to make a new one to make it longer. Now I had right here a bracket. I don't have it here with me. Anyway, I had a bracket on here that was the lower mount for the airbag, and that went up into there, which I've also already cut out. That was the upper mount. And so that was where the airbag was. The upper arm went under here, okay? Now what I'm doing is I cut the bracket off. I cut that out up there at the top. And what I'm doing now is I'm making a new bracket, which looks similar to this. This isn't the exact one, but it's similar. And now you can see if I can get it to stay there. So now you can see we got this bracket welded to the axle, and then here is our pivot point where our new, I'm just gonna use this for reference, where our new upper arm will go, okay? Now, again, this actually works out really, really well because I've already got a hole through the floor and into the back seat, but it happens to line up perfect. So now what I want to show is looking from the back. This is looking straight from the back. Here is our lower arm. You see where it mounts up there at the top, right? And our upper arm is going to go straight from here, straight in to where the back of the back seat is. So that is the new plan, and because we're doing it that way, we are completely missing the frame. We're actually on the inside of the frame now. And the other great thing is I have a flat spot at the top here. I'm going to mount my bag bracket on there, so the bag is still located in roughly the same place. The only difference being this is a lot higher, so that's why I cut this out, because that's going to have to go up higher too to make room for the bag. It doesn't even look like it right now, but this axle will come up so high that, I mean, it's, this part of the axle is right here. So it doesn't really look like it, but man, all this stuff gets pushed out way inside here. So we got to make accommodations for it. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. And I'm actually having a friend of mine make the brackets for me. He's going to do it in his plasma CNC machine or whatever the heck that thing's called. And he's gonna cut me out some butymous brackets. And that's gonna hug that axle really well, and everything's gonna be just, I mean, to the micron, centered and everything where I need it to be. And so, but for now, I am going to make a mock bag while I'm waiting on those brackets. Okay, so here are my upper and lower bag mounts. There is a thickness difference. The upper one's got to be stronger because that's holding the weight of the car. The bag's just pushing down on this one, so it doesn't need to be a stick. But that said, what I want to do is simulate the bag completely collapsed. All right, here's a bag. So if I take this bag and I push it in all the way as far as it'll go, I want to simulate this because I don't want to use a real bag because I'm going to be welding around it. I'm going to be burning up the bag. I don't want to do this. Even though, if you guys remember, this is the original one from the front that was getting cut up. I could use this one, but I don't want to. If I can just make a mock bag and it only costs me a couple of dollars, and I can reuse the mock bag too. So long and the short of it is I'm going to make a mock bag using these two brackets, this piece of all thread, and some nuts and washers. And I don't really know how to explain how I'm going to do it other than to show you when I'm done. So I'll be right back. All right, here is my contraption. So you can see I have my upper mount and I have my lower mount. And what I have done is I just used some all thread. And you see I got nuts and washers on here to keep it steady. And basically what that's done is that's spread these apart just tiny bit bigger than that airbag if it's fully collapsed. So fully collapsed, that airbag is 2.7 or something like that inches. And I made this about 2 7/8. So just a little bit bigger than a fully collapsed bag. Now, why do I want to go through all of the headache to build this? I will tell you why. Do you remember back when I showed you the rear bags that I pulled out? Remember how they were all skewed? Okay. The reason why is because this upper mount here that's in the car, this is where it mounts to, and then it mounted on the axle on the bottom. And so when the axle, because the geometry was all wrong, the axle would come up and tilt at an angle. So fully expanded, this upper and lower were right in line with each other, like where you want. But as the axle comes up, because there's a pivot point, it's going to do that. So it's going to go forward and it's going to come up at an angle, you see. And so that's why this is like this. So once I get this arm in here and this thing is going up and down where I want it to, and then I'm ready for the airbag installation, I will be able to use this. I'll bolt this onto here, right? And I'll pump this jack, and that's the jack right there, and that's going to lift this axle up, and it's basically going to push this thing right on up, right? Hopefully we can see that. Anyway, it's going to push this right on up, and then wherever this thing lives or wants to live, I'm going to go and weld this upper mount right there where it wants to live, and that way I know for a fact that this thing is aligned properly once the axle is all the way up. Makes sense? Hopefully. In my head it does. It doesn't mean it makes sense. But that's where I'm at now. So now I'm kind of at a waiting game. I'm going to, I got to wait for these brackets to be made, and that's going to be, I think this is going to be it for the day. I will check you guys again tomorrow. All right, and boom, just like that, it's the next day. I am done talking. It's time to start fabricating. Finally, I know y'all have been waiting for this just as much as I have. But let me get you caught up to speed of where we're at. All right, here is my bracket, okay? The airbag is eventually gonna sit on top of here. And obviously here is my bolt for my upper arm. And I've already gone through and figured out which sort of degree on the axle I want it. And you can see I've got, you know, my lines here. This is where I want it lined. Now I've already got these things on here to help me make sure that it is 90 degrees with the axle. And guys, it is finally time to fabricate some stuff. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna set y'all up. All right, this is why you don't want to go full sand. This is why you only tack it first, okay? So I've got it tacked, got it right on my line where I thought I wanted it, but then I'm going to put my arm down here. What it is it's not centered in the hole that I've got cut out through the floor. So I'm guessing I'm about an inch off. I'm an inch too close towards me. I can't put it on this side because I basically have the same problem on that side. So, yep, have to chop these spot welds and start over. Let's try this again, shall we? That is perfect. Okay, so I've taken off the end link here. Basically, I'm going to just sort of temporarily mount this thing. And all this is going to do is help me space this properly. It's just gonna have to be good enough, isn't it? Okay. All right, let's throw a couple tacks. That is going to work. We don't want this too tight. That will work really good. We don't want this too tight, but you know, we want it to be able to just kind of squeeze on it just a tiny bit once we throw the bolts in there. So this is going to work out really good. I'm really happy. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure why I shouldn't just go ahead and weld this in. So I have a feeling, depending on where this bag mount goes, for example, if it goes, you see how we're getting kind of close to the bar? Now this is way lower than it'll ever be, but it gets kind of close to the bar, so I do have to be careful for that. But let's just say this thing needs to be mounted way back here. I can basically cut this off, all this off, and get it kind of out of the way of the bar, although I don't think it's going to have any kind of a problem with it where it's at, like hitting the bar or anything. These lower mounts, or these lower bars, I was telling you before, are triangulated to keep it from swaying left to right. So I think we're going to be just fine. All right, so I got this welded best I could. Here is the bracket on this side. I can't really access in there. And then on this side, I honestly can't even see that. I'm actually gonna see that right along with you guys off of this camera right here to see how good a job I did, or bad a job I did. But assuming all that's good, the next step is we're going to mount this bar on here, and then we're going to move into the inside. Before I do that, I have to get this axle moved back up to ride height. So that's what this angle finder is for. I know what angle this bar needs to be at ride height. And then, so once I got it up there, I'm going to set this bar at that same angle and figure out where the mounting location needs to be on the inside. So, wish me luck. All right, everybody, so I've got the upper link mounted back in here. Here is my angle finder. 1 degree perfect is going to be ride height. The reason why 1 degree is because the frame itself is at 1 degree. This garage has a slight little angle on it. Otherwise we'd have it at 0, and then this would be 0. So now it's time to move on up to our upper link. Right. Our upper link, if it's going to be parallel, right, it's going to also be 1 degree. I'm getting too old for this, y'all. So, right now we're at 2.7. Right about there is going to do it. This is looking really good so far. Now, I've got a mark on here. There it is. That is the mark I was going for. This is 20 inches. The problem is, since we're no longer putting this at an angle, it needs to be short. Since we're going straight, it needs to be shorter. And so the amount that I figured it up was actually going to be 17.5 instead of 20. So that's 17.5 right here. So we're going to end up cutting this bar right here. We're going to put we're going to weld our other link in right here. And so that's how far out this is going to come. And it should be pretty, pretty close to, I would say, where the front edge of the back seat's going to be once this is all done. Again, like I was saying, man, I don't care if I have to cut out the back of the seat. but I want it to look normal when the seat's installed. So that's my goal here, and so that's what we're gonna do. I think we're about ready to start cutting this and starting the mounting tabs for this side of the bar. And once I got that done, boy, it's all downhill from here, because I'm just copying that to the other side, and all the hard part and all the figuring and all the time is already been done, and it's going to go a lot quicker since I've already got everything figured out. So no time like the present. Let's go ahead and get this started. Did you guys happen to check out how I made this cut pattern on the rear suspension episode, or part 1? Did you guys see that? You didn't watch it? Well, go watch it. You'll figure out, or you'll see how I made this pattern. Go watch it when you're done watching this, of course. You'll see how I came up with that pattern and how I can wrap it around this bar and get that pattern. Something I learned from the last time also, make sure the camera is a little bit farther away, because last time I got the lens all messed up. Ooh, look at that. Maybe I should wear my gloves. Don't have very good lighting here today because this is very overcast. I'm having a hard time seeing my lines. Well, damn. I think I'm out of batteries. Oh, I got one more. Ow! What the fuck was that? A little bit more right there. I welded this half first, and basically I welded uphill, so I started to the left and worked my way up. Then I went to this side, welded from the top, worked my way down, and that seemed to, I don't know, sure does look a lot better. So I think I'm going to start, if at all possible, letting gravity help me instead of trying to work against it. I think this is a perfectly good weld, I think, but what it is, just the extra, so it's still liquid, you know, when it's welding. I think just the extra is running down. But you can see the coloration on here. We got good penetration. So this is looking good. This is a solid weld. It just, I think I can probably make it look a little bit better. So I got one more of these things to do, and on that one, I'm gonna make sure I go downhill every time. So we'll get that going right now. What's up, everybody? All right, it is the next day. I was glad I kind of slept on it because I kind of realized a little bit that I didn't weld one of these brackets properly. In order to weld it, you want to bevel it so you can get some weld that penetrates all the way through. And this far bracket right here, I ended up pulling this control arm back off and re-welding in there. That's where the bevel was. Same as here, the bevel was on this side, so I welded this side. So anyway, that's where we're at there. And unfortunately, I'm out of time basically. It's Sunday morning. I just came in here to weld that real quick and also finish up the welding up the upper control arms for both sides, the upper bars for both sides. That's it. I'm kind of out of time, so that's going to be it for this episode. I really appreciate you guys watching, go click that like, subscribe, notifications, all the things that you do with the YouTube, and we'll see you up on the next one. All right, see ya.